ushering in a new year, 2004.
2004!
The 2004 Kids' Choice Awards!
2004!
Let's crack it.
2004 was the banner year for new Nickelodeon shows across animation and live action. The network introduced so many new series that would finally become fan favorites. Nickelodeon wouldn't be the same without these shows. The series premiere were the most interesting, with January 11th being the beginning of Drake and Josh. Yeah.
Hug me, brother!
The live-action sitcom, which was a sitcom spin-off of The Amanda Show.
Drake Bell and Josh Peck. They've grown up on The Amanda Show, battling lobsters, fending off frog puppets, and getting beaten up by girls on a regular basis.
Follows Drake Bell and Josh Peck as Drake Parker and Josh Nichols, created by Dan Schneider. It was developed after Schneider observed Drake Bell and Josh's chemistry on The Amanda Show. He pitched it as a buddy comedy series built around specifically them. We got the pilot, which features Drake and Josh becoming brothers and learning to live under one roof, a premise that allowed Schneider to explore the classic odd couple comedy for teens. And if you guys remember it back then, it is so different than it is right now. Like, Josh is literally wearing a dress in the pilot, and Drake is a cool guy just trying to fit in. Nothing like the 4th season in which Drake is dumb and Josh is responsible.
Gotta do something. Ooh, can't talk, got a limbo.
Who here remembers when this premiered? I remember it looking like such a weird show. I don't remember liking it immediately. I just remember thinking the jokes were super funny. It clicked with audiences from the very beginning with a 4-episode first season. Because 13, 20, that wasn't normal back then. Like, they had to see that this show worked, and instead of doing one pilot, they just did 4 episodes, which kind of cool. As we all know, it lasted about 4 seasons. But its origin is right here in 2004. Another hit that came out that year was none other than Danny Phantom. On April 3rd, 2004, right after the 2004 Kids' Choice Award, we've got a story about a boy that is half ghost.
Boo?
I am a ghost.
I better get to school.
Up until this point, we only really knew the animation by Butch Hartman for Fairly Odd Parents. This would have been a big departure from the original tone that Fairly Odd Parents made us akin to. I recently made a retrospective on the complete first season, and as we get ready for Halloween, I'm definitely thinking about doing the second. Hartman pitched the idea in 2001, 3 years earlier, wanting a more action-oriented show after Fairly Odd Parents' success. The first episode was Mystery Meat, showing Danny first entering his parents' ghost portal and turning into half ghost. It was so good at mixing action, humor, and coming-of-age themes, something that Fairly Odd Parents never was really aiming for. And for me, it was such a new take on superheroes.
Prepare to learn why meat is the most powerful of the 5 food groups!
Cookie?
I feel like at the time we had some DC network mania with Teen Titans, but Nickelodeon having something successful under their belt is really cool. Till this day, I would say that it's definitely one of Butch Hartman's best works. Oh, then we have our boy Ned's Declassified School Survival Guide. Yeah, originally premiering September 12th as a part of the Teen Nick 2004 lineup. This show came just in time for the fall season. It was like the perfect back-to-school show.
Back to school, to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool.
Created by Scott Fellows, who actually did Johnny Test and was a former Fairly Odd Parents writer, so this was not new for him at Nickelodeon. The live-action comedy offers zany tips for middle school life.
Tips. Sit close to the doors for fast getaways.
And the unaired pilot was produced in 2003 with a different actor as Cookie. Then Nickelodeon ordered the series in early 2004. The first episode, the pilot, starts off with Ned Bigby, the 7th grader, breaking the 4th wall and introducing his survival guide, to which I never looked back. Never did I watch a show that was like borderline educational, sharing tips directly at me in a way that's not too condescending. Like from the get-go, my first impression was that this is a how-to video gone way too overboard. The quips and sound effects at first didn't really make me feel like I was watching an adult show, but they quickly captured me with the characters' dynamics. I feel like some of the tips were so relatable it was hard to ignore, and then the wacky plot lines definitely sold it for me. It has to have a little bit of ridiculousness in order to be a good show.
Dude, I hear you're trying to steal my thunder. It was an accident. It will never happen again. That's right, because this is my house. There's only one master blaster.
Scott Fellows pitched the show to blend sketch comedy style advice with a narrative following Ned and his friends. The result was this fast-paced, genre-mixing series that other people found hilarious and genuinely helpful, and it definitely became the new hit. And just in time for a second hit, Unfabulous also premiered that exact day. It was all a part of this Teen Nick lineup, and even though the shows are similar in tone, they do have distinct differences. Like, this one was created by Sue Rose, who was known for animated hits like Pepper Ann or Angela Anaconda, shows that I don't think I've ever heard of. I don't know if you guys have. But while both shows take place at middle school, Unfabulous kind of follows the more social, emotional issues like first kiss, bullies, bigger reputations. Oh, I guess Ned's Declassified also circled around those things. So, I don't know. There was just something different. I guess Addie wrote songs about what she was going through in her life.
Eli likes me, Jake likes Patty. Oh, how can that be?
We saw her personal home a lot. Ned's Declassified never really went to their home, so I guess that kind of added a unique flavor. And with the varied ages of the characters, like the parents, the older brother.
Cut the amateur act, Faker. I'm the Al Pacino at pretending sick.
Unfabulous quickly managed to fill in the gaps that Ned's couldn't. It was starring Emma Roberts. I'm not sure if you remember the 13-year-old Addie Singer. The pilot sees Addie penning a song to cope with an embarrassing school incident, establishing the show's whole gimmick that this teenage girl is living vicariously through like a diary. It had to have gotten all the girls and me because it was the birth of a long-term crush on TV. Like, Ned was focused on Susie Crabgrass in the first season, but that was only a couple episodes. Addie Singer was obsessed with Jake Bahari for this entire series. I don't usually talk about the preschool shows, but it is cool to note that Blue's Room came out on August 2nd, which was the spin-off to Blue's Clues, the preschool series about Blue, but this time he was a puppet in his own playroom, making a more interactive version of the original preschool show. And then, of course, Lazy Town, the trippy, nightmare-fueled series.
Eddie just told you that? Whoa, I mean, it's just...
No, I'm just kidding. Can you tell I have an opinion about this? It was a colorful blend of, like, live action, puppetry, CGI. They were just trying to do everything 90s. And the pilot episode had Sporticus. I'm not sure if you guys remember that infamous villain.
I'm sorry. I forgot to shave.
And most of the episodes ended up leaning toward being more educational. Oh, and who can forget also the Backyardigans premiered that year. The month after Unfabulous and Ned's Declassified, we got the Backyardigans, which, if you guys check out YouTube, they have the pilot leaked, and it is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. So, if you want to be voluntarily traumatized, I would look that up on YouTube. And so we had a lot of good additions to the lineup, but there was also a couple series finales and cancellations that would change Nickelodeon forever after that. The 90s Nickelodeon was no longer alive, guys. So Rugrats was one of those 90s shows that took a leave of absence, or finale. After like a 13-year run, Rugrats first aired its final episode in 2004, formally concluding it. It was called Hurricane Alice. That was the last segment. It was released on August 1st, 2004, and in the episode, Tommy and the babies weather a storm while confusion ensues and they mistake an actual hurricane for a new playmate named Alice, which is kind of dark when you think about it.
That's Hurricane Alice. She's gonna turn our housey upside down and make my tummy all tumbly.
This show was a big deal, so having it end was really depressing. It came to Nickelodeon first in 1989. I didn't even know Nickelodeon was around that long. The show was originally pitched as babies seeing the world from beneath the playpen, which is a really fun idea for a kid's series. Like, if it were produced 10 years after that, it probably would have been a preschool series, but this is the right kind of comedy. It won like 20 awards and spawned 3 movies along with a spin-off show called All Grown Up. I'm not sure if you guys remember that, but it's all the kids as teens. It's very interesting. They didn't have a lot of fanfare for finales like that, so it just kind of quietly concluded in 2004. But not only that show getting the coffin, Hey Arnold had its series finale too.
This moment never happened.
Gotcha.
So although Hey Arnold's final episodes were produced in 2001, 2002, the last original airing took place in 2004, in June to be exact.
Journey is the destination, man. What's that mean?
The final story was called The Journal. It was like this 2-part episode revealing the backstory of Arnold's missing parents and ended on a hopeful cliffhanger. In The Journal, Arnold discovers that his father's old travel diary, which recounts the parents' last adventure in the jungle.
Aha, here we are. Later that night, after all the guests had gone, we went back to our hut. It was the hottest night the jungle ever had. Oh, there was... Okay, Arnold, time for bed.
Includes a map hinting at their whereabouts. The emotional episode ends with Arnold hopeful that his parents might still be alive, and it was pretty daring to have such an unresolved ending at the time. But fans were lucky to see that 15 years later, Hey Arnold the Jungle movie came out in 2017. I'm not sure if you guys remember, but that was a cool revival at the time. It was created by Craig Bartlett, and Hey Arnold was pitched to Nickelodeon in 1993 after Bartlett developed the character in a claymation short. The show premiered in 1996 and ran for 5 seasons. The creator wanted to create this diverse show about a bunch of different kids in different situations living on the same block in the city, with Arnold being the moral compass of it all, but there were some really fun characters.
In the classroom, my heart doth swoon, and yet I want to beat your face in.
And I'm telling you, the original movie was very nostalgic for me. I know people say that it wasn't what the movie was supposed to be and the creator originally wrote something different that didn't get greenlit, but I really did like what we got. Hey Arnold is just such a staple of the Nickelodeon timeline. Speaking of which, the Wild Thornberrys also ended this year.
Another dinner, another day. Another meaningless moment in this pantomime.
Oh my gosh, not only Rugrats, but the Wild Thornberrys. I'm not sure if you guys saw the Rugrats Go Wild, but that is one of the best crossovers I've ever experienced in my life.
I'm a ballerina!
So the fact that both of these shows are coming to a conclusion and at the same time is really sad. That final episode was also aired in June, with the finale being called Eliza Unplugged. It was a half-hour episode that provided a sense of closure for the whole family. It had teenage Eliza Thornberry, who had the ability to talk to animals. Even though I never really was into this show, my cousin liked it. I feel like anybody that was an animal lover kind of fell for it, because it's such a sweet concept to, like, be able to talk to animals. I don't know. It's cool because Eliza is struggling to confess her feelings to this guy named Shane, who's a pop star, and films one last show with her family's crew. And ultimately, she and Shane share a heartfelt goodbye and a kiss. Meanwhile, her mother is nostalgic for Eliza growing up, which is kind of a meta goodbye. This show started in 1998, and it was the same group that made the Rugrats, Klasky Kabatos. They wanted to make an adventure series, something a little bit further than Rugrats, and they did a great job. The whole documentarian family following the nature and animals is such an interesting concept. And with 5 seasons and 91 episodes, along with a spin-off movie, The Wild Thornberrys, this show really did good in its time. With so much to look back on, I'm so happy that these 90s shows had so much material to make, like, even excluding the Rugrats Go Wild, like, that's such a big amount of work. For some reason, Nigel Thornberry, I swear, is the biggest meme of all humanity.
Smashing, smashing, smashing.
It's just so funny that such a specific character, like a dad on this show starring Eliza, happens to be a mainstay up until 2025.
There's no easy way to tell you this, but I don't think this long-distance thing is working. Well, what's he talking about? I checked the radio this morning. It's functioning perfectly.
Like, he got DLC in the new Nicktoons video game. Like, what is that about? But you could tell that Nickelodeon knew what they were doing with action-adventure cartoons from here on out. Oh, wow, the 90s really died, with CatDog having its series finale too. Nickelodeon's oddest couple, CatDog, quietly saw their last episode in 2004 as well. I think the last two were called Cat Gone Bad and The Old CatDog and the Sea.
So long, Square.
Also finalizing on June 15th. It wasn't any notable ending like loose ends getting tied or a big dramatic final revelation where your parents' map is lost. Yeah, no, CatDog was just this comedy that you could pop in every week for.
White fish chub.
Moldy beef sub.
Chub.
Sub.
Chub.
Sub.
But hey, you can't get any more opposite than a cat and a dog. Such a creative idea for a show. At the time, there was an executive at Nickelodeon named Albie Heck. She bought the premise immediately. She greenlit it in 1998, investing in a $350 million budget. It's weird because not only did the production wrap way earlier with the last new episode being in 2001, but Nickelodeon tried to burn off the remaining unaired episodes just to keep it going, which is kind of annoying that they did it at the time, but it's not like we had the internet or social media to be super on top of this stuff. Although I definitely would have noticed if I was old enough. I remember jumping onto my 2005 parents' desktop, size of a Xerox machine, checking how long these shows were going on and when they got canceled. I just barely had Wikipedia. And as if we didn't shoot ourselves in the foot already, Rocketpower also finished. And Rocketpower was also a big staple. The Extreme Sports Nicktoon was also from Klasky Csupo, ended on a hour-long TV movie called The Big Day in July. In that one, Reggie and Otto's dad prepares to marry his fiancée, Neolani, who the family met in their vacation to Hawaii. Of course, Otto is preoccupied with a major skateboard competition scheduled as the same day as this wedding. Wow, you ever heard that before? This show actually aired in 1999. I guess they wanted to appeal to all the sports kids, because I was not watching this one. But I will admit the concept of 4 kids in ocean shores surfing was definitely impactful. And 4 seasons is nothing to wag your head about. At least it ended on a more of a character growth moment, effectively closing on a huge high note. And this must have been a transitional year for Klasky Csupo, which, by the way, I know I'm not saying it right, just deal with it.
I guess it's just something I gotta deal with.
Like, all these shows were made by them and ending this year. Like, that's insane. I also learned that Slime Time Live had its final season. In 2004, the network's weekday afternoon game block would be this outdoor studio show where kids competed in messy games between the cartoons. And its final run aired in the spring, with its final episode being in the summer of 2004. Nickelodeon then quietly retired this show, and it was significant. It was the last of Nick's live daily studio shows, following earlier staples like You Pick Live, but by concluding Slime Time, Nick signaled a shift away from hosted afternoon blocks. And after 2004, after-school hours were filled with more back-to-back cartoons like Nicktoon Afternoon marathons. Yeah, Nicktoon Afternoon was interesting. It was March to May, and it had like 2 to 3 hours of Nickelodeon cartoons every day after school. And it's weird because this lasted like 7 seasons. I didn't even realize this was a part of the Nickelodeon history. There's a lot more that started and ended in this year, but these are the most notable to my childhood and upbringing. So I just wanted to kind of share you guys with my world and see if there's anything I missed. You could definitely comment below. Like, I do not want to miss anybody's hidden gems. And please, I'll check it out if the premise sounds interesting enough. Something crazy also is that Nickelodeon's on-air branding and blocks themselves saw notable changes in 2004, including the relaunch of its Friday animation block and the end of a long-running live show. Like, in March, they renamed Friday Night Nicktoons to the Primetime Nicktoons, and under this banner, Nick aired premieres and marathons of cartoons in prime time, hoping to create an appointment viewing night for families. For example, April 2nd, 2004, right before the Kids' Choice Awards, Nick ran this thing called Friday Night Nominated Nicktoons. It was a marathon featuring award-winning nominated tunes. But by the fall, Nickelodeon returned to its original branding, and on September 24th, 2004, Friday Night Nicktoons returned with new episodes on the block again. I feel like the confusion of having it on and off so much, though, would definitely confuse viewers, especially me being a kid.
Well, I'm confused.
And I guess they got that feedback too, because Friday Night Nicktoons was discontinued in December 2004. Rest in peace, guys. Oh, and this one I remember really well. They had Teen Nick on Sundays, so Nickelodeon's Teen Nick block, geared toward the tween and teen viewers, truly hit its stride in 2004. While Teen Nick had launched in 2001 as a Saturday night crossover successor to Nick, the fall of 2004 is when they made it like this mainstay. 6 to 9 p.m. every Sunday night. And of course, Ned's Declassified and Unfabulous were perfect timing. And luckily we had Drake and Josh, Romeo, they were already a couple hitters that we were able to watch anyway. The infusion of these fresh shows along with their old shows definitely helped Teen Nick gain strong ratings, and by the end of 2004, Nickelodeon had cited that Teen Nick programming contributed to all of its gains over the tween demographic. So if this never really was a thing, like Ned's Declassified, Unfabulous, and this fall thing, I don't even know how much of Teen Nick we would know today. Even Drake and Josh, like, can you imagine?
We'd be done.
They used to call it Snick, and that branding would officially end around this time period in 2004. Of course, our nostalgia fans will remember that title.
Silly, stupid, buck, wily, most persnickety, stickety, licker, snicker, bling, blung, chicka, nose, pit, flick, so kick it quick and watch it dip.
Around this time, Nick at Night splits off, which is kind of weird. Like, although not a programming block at the time in a traditional sense, the noteworthy schedule development in 2004 was the formal separation between Nickelodeon and Nick at Night. So in March 2004, Nickelodeon and its nighttime alter ego, Nick at Night, began being rated as two separate networks, despite sharing the same channel space. For years, Nick at Night would run from 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. and lumped in with Nickelodeon's daily ratings, but Viacom requested that Nielsen split them up to more accurately reflect Nick at Night's adult audience and kind of get a vibe for what was working and what wasn't. The move was very strategic, and it instantly created two top-rated cable networks instead of one, which is crazy. Who knew it would do so well? In 2004, quarter one, they were the #1 cable network, Nickelodeon was, in total day ratings, while Nick at Night would be the #2 in primetime. And I think at the time, competitors definitely saw this as a threat because Viacom had to defend it, noting that Nick at Night had to do it because of the different types of advertisements they would have to play throughout the shows, which is a pretty fair reason if you ask me. But then again, I'm just a guy that talks into a camera in an empty room. The network's weekday and weekend schedule in 2004 featured some other shifts too, like weekday mornings they had Nick Jr. with Dora the Explorer, Blue's Clues, and newcomers like Lazy Town and Backyardigans joining in, and Nickelodeon actively expanded its offerings with new shows. Then of course we were gifted with reruns of all that and the Nick Cannon Show to celebrate the whole Nick era. The late night started adding shows like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm not sure if you guys remember, but Full House, Roseanne, The Cosby Show, and I was a big fan of George Lopez, but it didn't come in that early. We all remember that feeling when our favorite Nicktoon is finally done at 9 p.m., and then suddenly these adult shows with inappropriate jokes came on television.
Oh, my ears. Oh.
Guys, it was a world like no other.
It's wicked, whack!
At least it wasn't Adult Swim. On Cartoon Network, Adult Swim really scared me. Like, it was night and day, as opposed to Nickelodeon, which is just night and, I would say, late afternoon. But of course, we can't not talk about the significant events, like special broadcasts, punctuating Nickelodeon's 2024 calendar, like the Kids' Choice Awards, obviously, the 17th one to be exact. It was on April 3rd, 2004, hosted by Mike Myers, promoting Shrek 2. Wow, Shrek 2 is the most 2000s movie I feel like I've ever seen. They had guest appearances with Cameron Diaz, Justin Timberlake, and the KCAs were just always the hallmark event for Nickelodeon. And in 2004, the show delivered strong ratings as usual, which was over 5 million people. The award shows featured staples like celebrity sightings, musical performances, and of course, awards to give to the best TV shows, you know, like SpongeBob SquarePants for favorite cartoon. Oh, and then we cannot talk about the most important event of all time, the release of the greatest movie to date. SpongeBob SquarePants the movie. Yeah, it was a major milestone for Nickelodeon's Crown Jewel franchise, and it happened November 19th, 2004. That's when SpongeBob the cartoon finally hit the big screen. It was Nickelodeon Movie's big theatrical release of the year, and it marked SpongeBob's journey to being a man.
Now that we're men, we have facial hair.
And they went all out. The film's release was accompanied by a tidal wave of promotion on the channel, which, why wouldn't it be? Including sneak peeks,
splashes,
a massive SpongeBob movie countdown weekend, and tie-in merchandise like Burger King, and they had the whole SpongeBob soundtrack album. If you guys want to hear more about the SpongeBob albums, I have a whole separate video on that. Please check it out, guys. But the actual craziest thing they did with this was the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. In 2004, SpongeBob debuted as a giant balloon, with the first square balloon in the parade's history. Wow, what a crazy milestone. And it's so funny to look back at the success of SpongeBob in 2004, because I feel like in this day and age, we see it as even more of a success. We see it more as like a cultural shift. And that movie is definitely in part by that. Like, this movie was told in such an impressive way, with a really cool plot about Plankton taking his schemes to the next level and even out of water for the SpongeBob cast to take a journey to. We got character growth from SpongeBob and Patrick in a way that none of the other movies did. And with all the surprises like David Hasselhoff being a staple.
Who are you?
I'm David Hasselhoff.
We also got a bunch of good musical numbers.
I'm a goofy goober!
SpongeBob fans were eating good that year, I'll tell you that much. I look back and I'm like, wow, 2004 was definitely the year of SpongeBob. I think the show even peaked in popularity, and the movie brought older audiences in too. Until this day, I watch this movie at least once a year. And every day, I pray that one of the SpongeBob movies upcoming would finally match the quality that it had, which I don't think is that much. I feel like the first one was basic and every other one overcomplicated itself since. But hey, I'm gonna have to reserve another hour video just for that conversation. But yeah, it was the 9th consecutive year that Nickelodeon was the #1 cable network with viewership in 2004, with 2 million viewers overall, 4% more than 2003. This stat, which was reported by Nielsen and Broadcasting and Cable Ratings, were underscoring Nick's ability to grow its audience. Even as 2000 shows saw more from Disney and Cartoon Network, they just were on top of the world. A Los Angeles Times piece from 2004 noted that Nickelodeon was the most watched cable channel in any day part, thanks largely to SpongeBob's unusual maneuver of drawing both kids and adults. And of course, the Nick and Knights rating split definitely must have helped. I feel like another standout moment that year had was the premiere of the all-grown-up special Lucky 13 in October 2004. It was Nickelodeon's highest rated animated telecast of the year. And Fairly Odd Parents Channel Chasers? Yeah, that came out July 23rd, 2004, and that also drew in big numbers. I'm not sure if you guys remember Channel Chasers, but that is the most popular movie event from Fairly Odd Parents. Like, sure, we had Abracatastrophe, we had Fairly Odd Baby, but this one, I think this one just hit a little bit different. There was like a full story, a whole character arc for Timmy Turner, and even though it wasn't in the theaters like SpongeBob, it definitely had its place in history. Like, if we weren't in the theaters watching SpongeBob, we were at home watching this movie. I'll never forget the nightmare fuel that is that puppet channel. Like, remember when Timmy runs into his future self?
You young fool, don't you understand? I am the good guy!
What? An older version of me?
And then they have like this whole chase scene. Oh my gosh, that episode is just so crazy. And we can't forget that Alec Baldwin was in both that special and the SpongeBob movie as Dennis. Wow.
Of course they were fake! This is what a real mustache looks like.
Can you imagine? Oof, and another exciting thing that happened that we don't usually talk about is the inclusion of Nick Resorts and Theme Ventures. Another milestone in this era was the location-based entertainment, like the Disney World of it all. In summer 2004, Nickelodeon and the Holiday Inn announced that the Nickelodeon Family Suites Resort was going to be in Orlando, the first ever Nickelodeon-themed hotel experience. The resort would open in 2005, but the planning and press releases all mentioned 2004, and it built excitement with a giant slime tank, character breakfasts. Like, I was a kid and I was dying to go to this. It also expanded its theme park with, like, Nickelodeon Universe. It's at the Mall of America. It started development at the time, and Paramount Parks, which was owned by Viacom, introduced new Nick-themed rides like the Jimmy Neutron Atom Smasher coaster. And the development signaled Nickelodeon's growing brand strength way beyond TV. Oh, and let's not forget the Nickelodeon Worldwide Day of Play. Yeah, this was kind of my enemy. It was Nickelodeon's pro-social efforts to hit a landmark in 2004 with the Worldwide Day of Play. It's in October, and Nick basically took a bold step, literally going off air for a few hours one afternoon, encouraging kids to go outside and play.
We don't need television. Not as long as we have our imagination.
Which, oh gosh, guys, in the battle versus me and my mom in video games, this took me out of the winner's circle. But you gotta admit, in retrospect, if we could get our kids off of iPads for 5 minutes, that's a miracle.
To keep it simple, here's what I say. Live these words. Let's just play.
So something about Nickelodeon prioritizing the mental health and wellness of kids is just really admirable. Just because of their overpopularity and super high success, they were in a position of really big power, and instead of collecting money for a couple hours, it's nice to see that they actually put it toward the kids. Because who knows, maybe if they never had Day of Play, I would be sitting in my room still. But we do have to talk about how well the Fairly Odd Parents did that year. I know we talked about the TV movie Channel Chasers, but it also had that special episode in February, the big superhero wish. And it was this dedicated marathon with a lot of high numbers and these Fairly Odd Parents episodes back to back leading up to it. At the time, it was always the second highest rated Nicktoon. And as you and I know, it wasn't even the peak of how Fairly Odd Parents got. The Nick records and music hits were really fun. In 2004, Dora's album was the first release on September 28th. And then, of course, we got the SpongeBob movie soundtrack as well, with Avril Lavigne, the Flaming Lips. Like, they never needed to have this many good songs, but it definitely worked. SpongeBob's album was a top seller in children's music that holiday season, reflecting how Nickelodeon was leveraging its franchises in the music industry as well. Additionally, of course, we got Drake Bell with Drake and Josh signing a record deal and having his music featured on the show. Nick just began promoting his songs. But hey, I might be gassing up Nickelodeon too much. You know, they had some lows. There were some lows this year. Like Slime Time at the end of its 7th season. The reason it was canceled is because its ratings had just completely dipped. And Nick realized that simply airing back-to-back popular cartoons would actually just get better numbers in the long run, so why would you support live action like that? And then, of course, My Life as a Teenage Robot, who was just in their 2nd season, had been completely overshadowed by SpongeBob, Fairly Odd Parents. It was hard to match that level of fan service.
I can't compete.
Nick was even able to put SpongeBob in the less busy time slots just because they knew people would flock toward them. So they would have to promote My Life as a Teenage Robot or Romeo just to get more people watching. Yeah, because that's when Disney Channel in 2004 hit a lot of good ratings gains with their original movies, which Nick was not doing quite yet. I know Cartoon Network also continued to rise with Teen Titans and Star Wars Clone Wars, as well as Adult Swim capturing all the teen males at night. With that said, Nickelodeon remained firmly ahead of the kids in the daytime, but one specific battle was in the 6 to 11 demographic. The 2004 lineup looked at Disney's That's So Raven and Lizzie McGuire as challenging Nick's live-action shows on certain evenings. And Nickelodeon responded by scheduling its heavy hitters, like SpongeBob's, into this spot to actually drive people away from watching them. Isn't that insane? Oh, and we cannot forget some of the video games that came out in 2004, because it actually was a decent chunk of them. Fairly Odd Parents, who already had a 3D platformer called Break Into Rules, had its follow-up, Fairly Odd Parents Shadow Showdown. It's a 3D platformer that came out in September 2004, and it had GameCube, PS2, and this game helped Timmy Turner fight through TV channel themed levels, a follow-up to that other game. And I don't remember playing this one so much. I remember breaking the rules, and I remember seeing Timmy in live action like that, but a lot of this game is kind of a mystery to me. It looks really fun, and I like licensed title games. I know they're never the best, but they do a good job at capturing the essence of the show, and that's all you really need. But then we had like a smaller one like Nicktoons Freeze Frame Frenzy, and that was only for the Game Boy Advanced. And this was a quirky game. It was just a lot of Nicktoons characters in each other's worlds, and some of the notable worlds were like All Grown Up, Fairly Odd Parents, Surprise Surprise. It's also the year that Tak 2, The Staff of Dreams, came out in October of 2004 for consoles, and it was a sequel to Tak and the Power of Juju, which was originally a Nick and THQ game. Obviously, this would later become its own Nick show, but at the time, it was just surviving in video games. Then, of course, who can forget this ultimate game of all time, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie game from 2004, October 27th. Wow, it looks like the fall that year was really heavy when it came to video games. It was released on PS2, Xbox, GameCube, and it let fans play through the movie's plot. Unlike SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom, which came out a little bit earlier, this was focused on the movie, so the world of the movie was explored. We got a lot of interesting power-ups that we never had before, like SpongeBob is able to turn into Bowling Ball SpongeBob, which, by the way, I still play till this day and get angry every time I have to play it. There's something so ridiculous about that game. It kind of took a step in the worst direction after Battle for Bikini Bottom, but somehow became more fun. It's a glitchy nightmare, I'll tell you that much, if you ever decide to play it, but so worth it, especially for the SpongeBob fans. And it's crazy, that year must have really kept the SpongeBob fans busy. Oh, and we gotta get into my favorite subject, all the DVD releases from 2004. There was like a plethora of VHS and DVDs because VHSs weren't completely gone yet. They had season sets, direct-to-video specials, and even compilation collections that just kept it going. Here's some of the highlights of Nick's 2004 home video rollout. The Ren and Stimpy show had the first and second seasons all put onto DVD, which marked the first time Nick put an entire season uncut of an original Nicktoons on DVD. It included commentary, featurettes that delighted longtime fans of the 90s cult cartoon really enjoyed. And if you guys know me, I don't really know a lot about Ren and Stimpy. I know it's more of the 90s cartoon. It's a little obscure for me, but it's cool that they had a DVD release, and if you like that show, you could access it now. And of course, SpongeBob, you can't forget SpongeBob. The second season came out on DVD this year, following the season 1 release from the previous year. It had a 3-disc set with all 40 episodes on 3 separate discs, and it was awesome. I remember this being my favorite DVD collection. The first season had this green bubble-esque texture, while the second season was able to do SpongeBob's very own pineapple home. And it sold extremely well. Like, not only was it the best season, but it was Amazon's top 10 children's DVDs that holiday season. And it indicated that Nickelodeon's recognition was all ages. There was no limit to how much they could do. They also dipped other series into the home media. Like Invader Zim had Volume 2, Progressive Stupidity, in 2004, and then also Volume 3, Horrible Holiday Cheer. The Invader Zim sets had creator commentary, which was a big deal because it got canceled in 2002, so the fact that it even came back up was awesome. Oh, and then of course we had some of those compilation releases, which I secretly loved, with the most memorable being the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour. It was released on VHS and DVD in May 2004, shortly after its TV premiere, letting fans re-watch that special anytime. And they even included a little bit of episodes from both shows to kind of make it all unified. I was just so excited for that. They were just doing such a good job. SpongeBob, of course, had multiple releases, because if you guys look in your closet, you probably have a SpongeBob DVD. Like, everybody has at least one of these compilation DVDs. I remember there was the Seascape Capers, which had like the Fry Cook games, SpongeBob Goes Prehistoric was another one, SpongeGuard on Duty, Sponge for Hire.
Sponge.
Essentially every few months, Nick packaged SpongeBob episodes over a fun theme and kept DVDs on the shelves. SpongeBob DVDs were consistently top sellers in the kids genre. In fact, by mid-2004, they had over 5 million units sold across all of its titles, which is so massive for the time. Fairly Odd Parents also followed this trend of VHS and DVD hybrids, because, admit it guys, this is when VHSs were leaving, but Nickelodeon didn't want to risk it all into DVDs, so they had to put it on both. Fairly Odd Parents had Channel Chasers go right to tape. So it premiered in that year, and then it got its own tape, along with a couple bonus episodes, and a How to Draw Timmy featurette, making it appealing to even those who still saw it on TV. Oh yeah, All Grown Up had the Lucky 13 DVD, and Oh Brother. I mean, Rugrats had always had VHSs out, but the fact that All Grown Up was ready to go in their same place was exciting too. And poor Jimmy Neutron barely got enough attention. I feel like compared to all these other shows, they were really giving them the short end of the stick. Like, sure, we had the movie on DVD, but this time we got Confusion Fusion, which was only a couple episodes of Jimmy Neutron. Oh, and at this time, like, technology was crazy. They started doing a lot more things with DVDs, like extras and games. I'm not sure if you remember, but that year, Nick DVD game extras were introduced. Like, SpongeBob and Fairly OddParents had this, like, interactive trivia into its own game that you could play on the DVD menu. And if you were me, I had this little laptop that could play DVDs. It felt like a mini video game when really it was just a portable DVD player. I didn't realize Nickelodeon pioneered a lot of this interactivity in DVDs, but I'm so glad it happened. I mean, if you're in that position of power, it's easier to use your resources to try to create new things, or at least experiment with new ideas. According to Video Business Magazine in 2004, Nickelodeon's home video unit had one of the strongest years ever. The SpongeBob titles charted Nielsen video scans top 20 for kids' DVDs. I didn't even realize Nielsen had a video scan thing. The Dora and Blue's Clues videos were definitely really good sellers for preschoolers. I was getting them in my Easter basket, and they grabbed multiple spots on the kids' VHS chart. Oh yeah, I guess kids' VHSs had a chart. I don't even know. They were definitely declining for sure. The breadth of titles in 2004, from baby shows to teen sitcoms, demonstrated Nick's understanding of the audience. Like, whether you were a toddler wanting to watch Dora's Halloween or a 90s kid reliving Ren and Stimpy, they were ready for everything. It was crazy. Oh, and that year, we had some really fun marathons that I had completely forgot about. Like, SpongeBob had a few, like Plankton's Revenge, a SpongeBob-centric marathon with, obviously, the lead Plankton theming most of the episodes, and it premiered Plankton's Army and the Missing Identity episode, which are definitely episodes for the ages.
I lost something once. I lost something I couldn't live without. My identity.
For the most part, it was all about taking over Nickelodeon that day, and the episode centered around Plankton's themes, with fan bumpers of Plankton interrupting to demand the secret formula, which is so funny. Like, imagine watching Jimmy Neutron and Plankton just comes on screen. I would think it was a crossover.
You could say we're friends, right?
No.
Acquaintances?
No.
Well, we're both invertebrates, aren't we?
I guess.
And then they had a Best of Patrick week. Not even in then, it was before. They had the same type of marathon with Patrick Star.
Is this the Krusty Krab?
No, this is Patrick.
So every day after school, they read a block of Patrick-centered SpongeBob episodes, like I'm with Stupid or Big Pink Loser.
He lives in a fruit?
That's unhealthy.
Bill Fagerbaki, which is Patrick's voice actor, recorded some new lines for episodes in his lovably dim style, which is funny because I know they did a lot for the Super Bowl in the most recent coming years, but that's crazy to think that they were already getting SpongeBob and Patrick to do their commercials and promos back then. And then there was a Jimmy Neutron-a-thon, which was actually a 5-day marathon, and it was 1 hour each day. But a new episode would be debuting each day.
For once, everything turned out perfect.
This format was exciting, but also strategic. It boosted ratings for the after-school slot for the week and definitely built momentum for Jimmy Neutron's anticipated second season. One of the premieres, which was the N-Men, the episode where the kids get superpowers, was super exciting. Even Rocketpower had one that year, like Rocket Power-thon in March. Nickelodeon did a 4.5-hour block of this show, with 9 selected episodes of Rocketpower, including some rarely aired ones, leading to a prime-time airing of the movie The Big Day that night. And I love it when TV shows have their big finales at the end of a long marathon. Like, that's always so fun. I'm not sure if you guys remember the Knicksgiving weekend in 2004, but that was a really fun marathon. They had such an interesting way of doing their marathons. They had 5 days and new episodes that produced some of the year's highest numbers. We got installments of pretty much everything. Jimmy Neutron, All Grown Up, Ned's Declassified, Unfabulous, Romeo. Like, the stunt not only kept kids glued to Nick during holidays, which were high viewing periods, but it also showcased Nick's depth of hits. The strategy worked, and Nick easily won Thanksgiving week ratings among all the cable networks, and the new episodes sometimes ranked #1 in their time slots, like the All Grown Up special on Black Friday. It ranked as the top cable show that day.
Can we really cover 2004 without talking about the internet? Like, it was such a big deal at that time. Who knew what it was? It was almost like this talking beast. And we talked about it a little bit, but I found a lot of information about Nick.com, specifically the games on it, and how iconic they were. I'm gonna go over some of the coolest finds I found for this year, but then I want you guys to check out my other video, the Nick.com full deep dive. But they had everything. They had Danny Phantom, they had SpongeBob, they even had like Unfabulous, Drake and Josh. Like, I can't get over how in-depth this website must have been at the time. SpongeBob had definitely some of the most games out there, surprise, surprise. They even had a BC Bowling SpongeBob game with SpongeBob BC Special, the one that was like in complete silence, I think it was called. And you get to bowl like SpongeBob in prehistoric times. Patrick is the one who keeps score, which is kind of cute, but you bowl through jellyfish and you knock down the pins. Not so much to say about this one. The one that got me the most nostalgic is the SpongeBob Bubble Bustin' game, because it's specifically promoting the movie and not the show, with art that is officially a part of the movie. Such a throwback to look at, too. It's like you have to pop all the bubbles, and I definitely played this one. There's like a bubble bomb, a bubble freeze, and it's so much easier to pop the bubbles that way, and I definitely love this one. This is probably one of my favorites. Like, I just remember the meter going up, and I love this one. And pretty much when you hit the very top of the meter is SpongeBob actually laughing, so you want to avoid that. And you have two endings. Either SpongeBob's riding away on a motorcycle because he became a man, or he gets kicked out of the Thug Tug. Oh, there's a game called Trail of the Snail, which at this point it feels like they had a game for every episode, because they have the Have You Seen the Snail picture in the background, which is the episode title. And this one I actually played a lot. There was a lot more intricacies to this one, like you got a whole Bikini Bottom map, and you would go to different places with a paddle ball, seeing all these characters, and you have to pretty much kill everybody except for the main character, which I don't know what this is teaching kids, but it taught me to hate people. But you can't argue with me that this isn't such a cute game. Like, all the locations in Bikini Bottom that you never really get to see. Like, I don't know what Martha's Craft Zone is, but I wish we could see it. And when you finally get Gary, it says, makes life worth living. And that's a really dark statement to make, SpongeBob. I can't believe they took it. There was a couple sets of games that actually went across all boards. Like, they had Nick.com Blockade, and it was Fairly OddParents, SpongeBob, and Jimmy Neutron, in which you could actually play in any of those three shows, and it would be a similar game. Like, SpongeBob would have seashells, Jimmy Neutron had atoms, which kind of made it feel like an educational game, whatever, and Timmy Turner had crowns. They also, across the board, had checkers, so they had, like, Jimmy Neutron checkers with him and Carl. Fairly OddParents had Timmy and Vicky, but you could also be AJ, which is kind of random. And SpongeBob had him and Patrick. But with the games of Jimmy Neutron, there is a lot more that meets the eye. I'm not sure if you guys saw my Jimmy Neutron retrospectives, but when you go to the first season, they had like 5 episodes that were more like demo episodes, more pilots, to see if the show would work outside of the movie. Like, this was way prior to even that. They had a bunch of shorts that actually showed off the characters, the situation, and the place they lived in Retroville. They had a couple 5-minute segments, and they made a game for every 5-minute segment based off that exact title. Isn't that insane? Like, for example, they have New Dog, Old Tricks, and it's Cindy and Jimmy in this game having their dogs compete against one another with options of sitting, rolling over, speaking, begging, dance, and quit, which actually has Goddard just explode. So this exact short actually happened. It was like Jimmy and Cindy with their dogs competing at the park in Retroville. Same thing with Cookie Time. Cookie Time was another short about Jimmy and his mom, and he just wants a cookie but accidentally goes back in time and is chased by dinosaurs. So they somehow turned that into a game here, with Jimmy running away from the dinosaurs. I feel like with all these mini games, they could have made like a whole Mario Party type Nicktoons game, because these are all so cool and short that I feel like it would actually be a fun game. Then we got Power Surge, which is actually from an exact episode as well. Even though it was like the Information Superhighway one, this was also like a cutaway of Timmy getting killed pretty quickly, but all around a better game than even Danny Phantom looks like. Who remembers this reference? Because I find this so cool. And when he dies, he just kind of like freezes on a screen that says, at this rate, Timmy will never escape. Which honestly is kind of existential for me, so I had to move on from this one. Rhythm Revolution actually incorporates the Pixies, so this was a lot further in the development of Fairly OddParents than I could have remembered. HP and Samson are in it, and it has a lot of catchy tunes from the School's Out musical, which I don't think came yet. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's just you catching pixies, and it's a really cool nod to the Fairly Odd Parents universe. Another really exciting one that actually reminds me of like Webkins or something is Sugar Rush, where you're running throughout Timmy's house. Probably the most I've seen of Timmy's house throughout the entire show, and it's kind of gorgeous. I love all of the style of Butch Hartman in this little runaround universe. Like, this is also something I think could have been a Game Boy game. Not much to it, you just collect candy and run away from Vicky, but it's really cool in how you do it. They have more than just the main room, and a lot of fairies pop up throughout it, which is fun. And yeah, Timmy Turner is certainly not as much as Jimmy Neutron. I feel like being a show about magic godparents, like you could have done so much more, but maybe they were focused on the development of actual full-length games at this time. Who knows? They had a Drake and Josh personality quiz, which is kind of funny because of course, like if you're a teenager, you might not be as into games, and some of the questions are just so random, I guess. But you could tell which brother it's kind of pertaining to, especially having known Drake and Josh for so long. It's so trippy seeing a live-action sitcom have games based off of it. It's just so crazy. Like, you answer the phone and it's a girl from school, what do you do? And one is turn on the charm and you're a pro at chatting up the chicks. And the other one is wishing it was your grandma. You're much more comfortable talking to her than girls your own age. Like, what a specific response. Is that not like an acting exercise? I feel like personality quizzes were such a big thing at the time. It's so funny to look back and see that. And of course they have a word search, which is the most boring, but I guess every TV show had to have one. But can you guys actually challenge me and find a better year for Nickelodeon? I mean, whether you were a gamer and on Nick.com, whether you were a binger and watching every marathon for every holiday, or tuned into some of the awesome event episodes of the most iconic shows like SpongeBob, Jimmy Neutron, Timmy Turner, like there's just so much to love about 2004, and I really appreciated it going back in time now. Thank you guys so much for watching, and feel free to disagree with me at any point. I'd love to see your feedback in the comments. It's actually a lot of fun for me sometimes. Just stop going for my hair. I don't need to keep seeing comments about how tall my hair is. Thank you, first of all, but seriously, it's enough. For more 2000s content, be sure to subscribe to Johnny 2000, and I will see you guys for more 2000s nostalgia next time.